Well, no Chandler today.
Oh, no.
I know. Well, he did say he would let us call him later today.
Oh, he'll let us?
Yeah, he'll let us.
That's so nice of him.
It is. He said he'll let us call him so he can get his 2 minutes to talk in at the end, which I appreciate. He is quite busy these days.
Oh, yeah. He's
with life.
Yeah, he's growing up right before our eyes.
Mm-hmm. So I allowed it.
You allow it. You allow him letting us call him later.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, because he almost didn't come on at all, and I was like, dude, I want you to come on because I think you're doing a really cool thing this next week.
Yeah.
His birthday's coming up. I think it's Saturday, right?
Yeah.
29th. But he'll be out of town. Mm-hmm. He went out of town last year, too.
Yeah.
The moral of the story is he doesn't like spending his birthday with friends or family here.
Guess not.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
But he's going for a good reason, and so I wanted to make sure he had 2 minutes at the end of this episode to talk about it, and so we could, just be mindful of it and pray for him and things like that.
Needs to put it out there. The people want to know.
I mean, by the time people listen to this episode, he would have already done it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay. I think it's still important.
It's like the people didn't know they wanted to know.
But they know.
They do. I think they do.
They know now.
Yeah. He'll probably post about it, and then and then they'll see it on his social medias, and then they'll listen to this and be like, "Oh yeah,
right,
that's what he did." Oh yeah.
I'm pretty excited about this episode. How about you?
Yeah, I've never met this person, so who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen?
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
We got a lot of things going on. Not too different from the last episode, but it's going to be good.
And we're going to jump right in.
Jump in.
Who made you? What made me? Mix it all together, we get society. The milkman made me. The milkman made me. Fresh perspective, chasing our dreams. Whole lot of joy and honesty. The milkman made me. The milkman made me. The milkman made me.
I'm sorry, I can't get over how awesome that intro is.
It's great intro.
It's amazing.
It's so good.
It's like the best ever.
Did we say welcome before?
I don't know, but welcome now. Welcome to the podcast.
We just want to welcome you extra. If we didn't.
Welcome you extra.
Extra welcome.
Get in your welcome.
We're so glad you're here listening.
Yeah, we are. Last week, we talked to Jared Barton. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun. He's a cool dude.
He's a young man learning about.
So what are you saying about this guy we're talking about this week? He's an old man?
I don't know how old he is.
I guess we're about to find out.
I'm learning a lot about. I don't know.
Well, this is what I think.
Middle-aged?
He has a kid.
Oh.
So whatever age that is.
Yeah. Hey, that's a toss-up too.
That's true.
No judgment.
We could call him and you could ask him. That could be the first question you ask him. How old are you, sir?
I mean, I've never met him, and usually that's not a rude question to ask a guy, but
why is it not rude? You know what? Let that be the first thing we ask Mitch. Why is it not rude?
I'm going to ask you this.
And then I'm going to ask you why it's not rude. Or is it?
Yeah.
All right, I think let's go ahead and call Mitch and get him
a call.
On call. And we'll get going. Set his levels and all that.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, man, what's going on?
Hello.
Hey, y'all doing all right?
We're doing well. We're doing well.
Good.
We're just already up in this podcast and letting people know,
we're just, okay. I'm going to start off with this question.
So this is Connor.
Hi, Mitch.
Hey, what's up, Connor?
Nice to talk to you over the phone. I've never met you in real life, but, this is how it's going to go. I have just a crazy question. It's so crazy. Right off the top. We were just discussing it before we called you. How old are you?
I am. By the way, why don't you guys guess that? How old do you think I am?
Man,
Spencer, you've met me before. We've chatted. What do you think?
I want to say like you're in the mid 20s, maybe you could be 30. I'm gonna hit dead on to 30.
Well, I won't say. You know what? I should probably know this. There's probably a birthday that came up, and I
29.
I'll say you're
29
on the other
safe.
side of 30. I don't know. Maybe you're 30.
Yeah. So I just turned 34.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I looked like I was 16 years old till I was 30, and then at 30 I began to age a little bit.
Oh.
And so now people guess. Like I used to go, and when I would go to churches, I would travel and like preach and stuff. I mean, still do, but there was even a couple times I actually went into churches and someone directed me to the youth room.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So luckily, I think I maybe put on some dad weight and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm looking a little bit fuller, more manly, not as like a child anymore. So I'm thankful for that. So is my wife.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You're thankful for the dad weight. There you go.
Well,
that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Well, I know that's a random first question to ask, but we were talking about it and we were like, why is that like a weird or like rude question to ask a woman, but it's not like a rude question to ask a guy, you know?
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know, man. It's different. It's different for
It's
sure.
so interesting.
Or do you feel like we were rude just now?
Yeah, was that rude?
Was that rude?
No, not at all.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no.
Yeah, well, you played the guessing game with us too, so that's
true.
That's how you twist it up on people, you know?
Play it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
funny.
That's how you do it. You say, okay, I kind of feel offended, so how about you guess?
Yeah.
No, I always ask that because early on, like in my 20s, people were always so random, like with my age, and so I would just and so in turn I would be like, well, how old do you think I am? And I don't take any offense at that at all. It's just for me, it's always interesting just to hear what people say and just how I maybe appear to other people. Anyways, because it was kind of, I remember one time. Because I always throw people off because I'm kind of a really old soul. Maybe not really old soul, but I'm an old soul. So I would always kind of have this like youthful look. But then sometimes when I would, meet with people, I have meetings with churches, it would be like, wow, this is kind of weird. Like you look like you ought to be in the youth room, but you sound more mature than you are. So I think it had a really hard time on people.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Putting their mind in a pretzel. They're like, what are we looking at right here?
Yeah, what's going on?
I know, it sounds bad. It's like I'm complaining about looking young all the time. It's like, I get that. I was like that too growing up. Like, people have that hard time, like, seeing. And I think it just, part of where you are in life too kind of helps maybe someone decide like, oh, I think you're this age because you have this, and this going on in life. And so it's just interesting how someone portrays you, how they see you, how they kind of figure out, oh, you must be this age. And sometimes you're like way off, you could, because we said, well, I said he has a kid. Connor's like, well, that doesn't mean anything. You could have a kid and be 20, and just be kind of all over the place. You could have a kid and be 45 and just have a new kid, so.
Well, my best friend growing up his first son, he just bought him a car because he's 16 and my son's 6 months old. So it's like, it's all over the place. You never know.
Yeah.
You don't. So Mitch, I actually got to meet you, man, I feel like it's several years ago now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For the first time at we may have met before this, but I know I was on staff at Initiative Network at the time. And I went to a collegiate training, I guess is what it was called, or a roundup. I don't know if it was a roundup. But it was like a bunch of, what was really cool, it wasn't just Dallas-Fort Worth. It was like all over Texas. Drove up. Where is y'all's offices? It's in
Grapevine.
Grapevine, that's right. Yeah, so Grapevine. And I think Grapevine also has Redefined Coffee. Is that where
that does?
Yep. And it's amazing. Man, it's amazing. Nitro brew that they have. It's so good. It's an iced nitro brew that is really good.
Can I tell you a great story about Redefine real quick?
Yes.
All right. So this because I know we're going to get to the Cowboys. I don't want to get there too early, but this is total marriage here of coffee. Two of my favorite things, which is coffee and Dallas Cowboys. But so I walk into Redefine one day and I see, and I'm actually just happen to be wearing a Dallas Cowboy shirt. And I see this large man standing by the counter, and I recognize him. And it's Kenyon Coleman, who used to play defensive end for the Dallas Cowboys during the Bill Parcells era. And so instantly, when growing up, I played a lot of Madden, and I love to look at the rosters, look where people were from, height and weight, and 40-yard dash times, all that kind of stuff. So I have like this photographic memory of that data. And so when I see Kenyon, I instantly just kind of out of the shock of like recognize him. I introduce myself to him.
Yeah.
And I look like the biggest creep because I began to spout off basically this guy's bio. I knew he went to UCLA. He was like 5-star player, prospect coming out. He went there. He was drafted, I believe, went to the Raiders and then the Jets, and then Parcells brought him into the Cowboys, and he was kind of that's when we transitioned to the 3-4, and he played defensive end, and he was like, he was a very serviceable player. So anyways, I'm just like spouting this off, and he's just like, nice to meet you. That was kind of it. And I was like, oh, dang, I just looked like a total creep. But that just all came from my mind out of my mouth. And anyways, I've seen him. So he actually owns Redefine. Oh. And I actually I've seen him a couple of times to try to create conversation. And I don't know if I just totally butchered it the first time, but he really doesn't like talking to me, I don't think. But it's fun. It's a cool story.
Yeah. So does he know, like, were you able to get out, like, oh, I'm not, like, this is who I am. I'm not just, like, this, like, football stalker creep. I'm actually, like, I'm involved in this community, and this is what I do. Like, or were you ever able to get to that? And, like, he kind of knows who you are or not?
So the first time, no. The second time, I actually saw him in a restaurant by here where I work, this burger place. I saw him again, and I actually approached him again to talk to him. So I'm like, I've got to smooth over last time. He still really didn't give me anything. So he was not very interested. He was nice, but he wasn't interested in, like, extending the conversation.
Right.
Well, you didn't put out, like, his weight, did you? Because you said you know all his stats, and like how we were saying.
No, he put I didn't put out weight.
You were like,
I didn't.
Are you still this weight?
No, I didn't. But I actually do. I do remember his weight, and I think I could get within at least 5 pounds of it. But
oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know why, man. That stuff like that. Like, I was never good with numbers in, like, school, but for some reason, remembering height, weight, 40-yard dash times, all that kind of stuff, like, I could just lock in for some reason.
Heck yeah. It's weird how that works, but when you're passionate about something, when you're focused on something and you really want to know it and learn it, like, it just kind of clicks in your mind, what you want to know. You're going to remember the things you want to remember, or you think you should remember for whatever reason. Maybe you don't think you need to remember something in math class, but the numbers, on height and weight for those moments to creep out Dallas Cowboys in the future. That's it.
Yeah, and that's not the first time I've creeped out a Dallas Cowboy player. I actually ran into George Teague one time, and he was walking by me, and I actually just grabbed him by the arm, and because I was just and I was like, and he turned and looked at me, and I was like, "Are you George Teague?" And he was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "My name's Mitch. Nice to meet you." And that was it. And we just walked off. So, like, the people that are with me are like, I can't believe you did that. I'm like, well, I'm just showing shock in the moment, but I have no even social awareness to realize how I'm coming off. Like, I'm not starstruck by anybody else, but when it comes to Dallas Cowboys, it's kind of a big deal. Yeah.
So you've had people come up and grab your arm and be like, are you Mitch?
I had one kid do, so funny story. I had one kid do that.
You're kind of, you're known in circles, right?
Well, yeah, probably like in like a Southern Baptist circle, maybe like in Texas. But yeah, I had a kid one time. I was at a youth camp, and he comes up to me and he grabs me by the arm. He says, "Are you Mitch?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "My name's Mitch too." And I was like, praise the Lord, man. That's awesome. And funny story, though, is actually this last weekend, I preached at a church in Bowie, Texas. And the kid goes to that church, and I went and ate lunch with him. So me and Mitch had lunch just last Sunday. So
there you go. Lunch with Mitch. There you go.
Yep.
That's good times. Yeah. So we, it was at that collegiate.
It was a roundup workshop, is what those are called.
Okay, workshops. Okay, and we had the pastor from the young adult pastor from Austin. It was one of the churches.
Austin Stone?
Yeah, Austin Stone. Yeah.
Was it Daniel Polk?
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember writing his name down and taking notes on that. And, I just remember that being something. I mean, obviously, when I was, involved with initiative and those sorts of movements where you get people from all these different areas involved in one place and kind of strategize and move and say, okay, how are we going to do this? And kind of take notes from the best. Like, I always enjoy those sorts of things to see, like, people coming together. And it just helps, like, it helps you feel like you're not alone, in this whole thing. And so I'm sure, there's got to be times that in your life you kind of felt like that. But, I mean, in this position you are in now, that you get to kind of see how the church is moving kind of from a different perspective in the position you are. I got to say that's probably pretty exciting to get to see, because sometimes when we're at a church, maybe we're at a specific church, we can get kind of like caught up in like, maybe something's not going the way we thought it would. But you're looking at this thing from, maybe a couple thousand feet higher than a pastor at a church. And so you're going to see the Lord move in a bigger way. And so how did you get into that role? Kind of like what's a quick little background of you and how you got into the role you are now, just so our listeners kind of know a little bit more than you're the Cowboys creep. How did you get to come where you are now? And doing what you're doing and kind of explain a little bit about what you're doing specifically too.
Yeah, man. So I started out as, when I was 20 years old, I started a business with my family, a restaurant business. And basically my parents financially backed me and I jumped into that head first. And it was really initially it sounded like a really dumb idea for our family, but it actually worked out pretty well. And I think just for my personal wiring that I just really grew. And I think even early on in that, we were in a community that really didn't have a lot of food options. And so we had a fair amount of success early on. And by the time I was 22, I bought a home. I had a lot of these different things. Nice. But yet I was still very empty. And I was thinking, even as a young person, that, well, when you have a career, when you have a house, you have all this stuff, like there's going to be fulfillment in that. And I noticed there wasn't. And so a couple years into that, I had a guy actually that was coming to our restaurant that continually invited me to church. And I finally started going to this church about a year in, realized that, man, I was, that really, because I believed that I was a Christian at that point. But it was once, it was just like this moment that I realized that Christianity is not what I could do for God, but what God did for me through Jesus. And I placed my faith and trust in Jesus. And my life was really changed at that point. I knew that the Lord was kind of changing my trajectory. And so I got involved in that church and I started attending this student camp just as a sponsor with my church, and which would actually come to be the camp that I actually run today, which is totally crazy to think about. Yeah. And so the guy that was operating that camp, I got to know him a little bit. And he just said, he had an intern position open to help mobilize college students for summer missions. And he said, I wanted to know if I could come on. I could actually still operate my restaurant and do this, which was quite a bit of workload at the time. Right. But so I started doing that and it went really well. We were able to recruit a lot, see God do a lot of really cool stuff. And so, and this job was with the Southern Baptist of Texas Convention. And then they said, hey, we want to bring you on full time. And so I actually left the restaurant business to work in our disciple making ministries here. I did that for about 3.5 years. And then the collegiate associate position came open and I was really encouraged to apply for that, which I did. And so, so now I've been doing in that role for 4.5 years. And then as of January of this year, I took over our student ministries and our collegiate ministries. So basically 7th grade through college is what I oversee here. Oh, wow. So that's that's kind of the road. It's definitely nothing that I ever thought, I would ever be doing, but it has been really just a lot of joy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Nice. That's awesome. So you said just the start of this year, you took over the student ministry, like 7th through 12th grade?
I did. Okay. Yeah, great year to do that during COVID and camp.
Right,
so
that's crazy.
No fun. Yeah.
No, and but you were involved with camp last year, just not the same way that you would have been this year, I guess.
Yeah, I've typically, ever since I've been at the convention, I've been involved in student camps in some way, shape, or form. The guy who formerly led it, who's actually my best man at my wedding, his name's Garrett Wagner. He's a pastor in Dallas now, but I always was kind of his right-hand man and helped do a lot of the kind of organizational leadership structure for the camps, and that's kind of been my role in that, and also doing occasional breakouts and things like that. But for this year, I've overseen that, and which is kind of stunk just because we've had to basically cancel all of our camps. But but honestly, I really wouldn't have wanted to even try to put on a camp during this summer. That would have been a nightmare.
Yeah, that would have been crazy.
Yeah,
and there's no good words for it. It's just crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Unexpected, crazy, just didn't know how to kind of deal with it. But, uncertain, unsure. Okay, what do we, what do we do? And did y'all do some virtual things?
Yeah, so we actually put together a digital package for churches. So we had Nathaniel Coons. So I oversee student, and Nathaniel Coons is our student associate. He kind of helps lead the day-to-day operations. And he did a great job of putting together a digital resource package where we invited some of our speakers in, and we had just did a filming of them speaking, did some real high-quality stuff, as well as some breakout sessions. So we had things that churches could use in their own community. So we had some churches that used that, just put camp on at their church. We had several churches that came together and did it. And so it turned out, for as good as it could, considering the circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. So with all the uncertainty in the world that we're living in today, there's got to be at least that one time in your life, you kind of give us this background, and it sounds like you had the opportunity to be pretty sure of yourself, early on in your young adult life, because you just had a good parent base to be able to give you some things. When would you say was the first time, and it could be before this, that you were sure of yourself? However you take that question, you were like, this is who I am. I'm sure of myself.
Yeah, man, great. That's a really, really good question. I feel like I've always doubted really I don't know if this is going to provide any insight, but I'm an Enneagram 1, so nothing is ever perfect enough. Nothing's ever good enough. Everything can always be perfected. And so one of my main struggles in life has always been, am I good enough? Am I competent enough? And one of the things that I always have to remind myself is people actually view me as a very competent person. I just don't view myself that way, which always leaves me this drive to be better. Which can be a good thing, but also it can be a really bad thing too, because I find worth and value in what I do and not in who God has made me to be. And I think that as far as, in my early 20s, when the restaurant business, that was really great because what I floundered throughout school, I was not a good student. I'm still not a great student. And I just don't do well in that kind of arena. But when you put a project in front of me that allows for abstract thinking, for creativity, to risk, that's when I really thrive. If this project, if it goes wrong and it's going to cost or do a lot of damage, I'm your guy for that, because that's the arena that I thrive in. When it's kind of safe, that's just not a great, I just don't have a ton of motivation. And so whenever I was young, that was a big motivating moment and life-shaping moment in that restaurant business, because it was kind of riding on my shoulders in a sense. And I just thrived in that environment. And I'm not saying our business was incredible or I did everything right or we made tons of money or nothing like that, but it was, it was just, we made it. And, because the restaurant business is a very hard business to be in. And honestly, I would never go back into it, just because I love my family too much to sacrifice them to, work 80 hours a week.
Right.
and by the way, and if someone does work 80 hours a week for the family, I'm not doubting you, because that's reality. I just choose not to do that. But so that was a big moment for me. But also, when I came to faith in Christ, it was several years down the road that I felt like I almost had this second epiphany of like understanding my identity and my worth and value, and really believing in who I was and how God made me. I felt like early on in my faith, I felt like I wanted to be like this person or that person or this person. In reality, God wanted me to just be me. And with those people pleasing tendencies that I had, is I was trying to please so many people and trying to be, I guess like good enough or of worth, of value, or to perform well enough, that what I was finding myself being is trying to be like everybody else rather than me. And I think even just within the last probably couple of years, I've really kind of staked down my identity and my personal wiring to know this is who I am, which frees me to say no to some things and yes to certain things, and kind of allows me to kind of work within my sweet spot. So, I don't know, man, that's kind of my journey in that.
Yeah, that's good. That's important. I think, I appreciate you calling out the great question. But I think that's important for us to think about, okay, when and what arena and what place, where was I when I felt like sure of who I was, and like what helped shape that certainty in myself. I think that's really important for us to reflect on that and think about that. And so, because it helps provide like future, like, okay, when I'm feeling down and out, do I revisit a memory, or do I try to put myself in a position where I know I'm going to feel sure of myself, and kind of connect those dots where you're talking about, where you need to be to feel motivated, to feel sure of yourself, to feel confident, and like push yourself to the best version of who you are. And so, I definitely think that's important for us to reflect on and think about. All right, before we go any further, we're going to cut to a commercial real quick. And then when we come back, Connor's going to take you through a little game. We're going to have a little fun about some of your favorites. We're going to get into, what gets you going, passion, and then talk about your father and your father figures in your life and different things like that. And you're a dad too, so we'll get into that, I'm sure, as well. So I'll cut away, and then we'll be right back.
Moravian coffee. Spencer, I have a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
Do you prefer your coffee hot or iced?
Hot.
Now, do you prefer an Americano or an Italiano?
I don't think Italiano is a thing. Maybe it is.
Are you sure?
No.
I don't know. Well, I've never heard of it, but if it's a thing, I'm sure it's great. But I did have an Americano the other day at Wayward, and I had an iced Americano with wonderful flavors of Moravian Coffee's Guatemala. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I've never had it that way, but let me tell you, it was hardcore and delicious. And if you guys would like to enjoy this wonderful flavor and do whatever you want with it, you can ice it, you can make it hot, you can do whatever you want with it because it's going to be yours. So I suggest you guys go to moraviancoffee.com/shop and use our promo code MILK for 10% off your order today. That's moraviancoffee.com/shop, promo code MILK for 10% off your order today. So, Mitch, let me ask you, are you a coffee fan? Do you drink coffee? You like coffee?
They said coffee and Cowboys.
Big. Coffee and Cowboys. That's right.
Yep,
that's a great that's a great combination. Have you had Moravian before?
No, I haven't. That's what I was actually as I was listening to that, I was looking it up online. So I'm like,
whoa,
check into this.
Well, there you go.
We're right there in Grand Prairie.
Please use our promo code.
Moravian Coffee Roasters. Is that it?
Yes,
yep, that's right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
They're at a couple shops. They're actually in a couple shops as house coffees in the area. And then they just guest roasted at Wayward Coffee, which is a new shop that just opened. And then, but they do a lot of, right now, they're brand new, so they do a lot of delivery to your door and So
what?
That's one of my favorite things. And
dude, this looks legit. I'm looking at the website right now, man.
Awesome.
I love what I'm seeing here.
Yes. Well,
wow. So what's your favorite blend here? I'm looking at Ethiopia, Guatemala.
Boy. You're throwing the questions back on me. Let's see.
Yeah.
I mean, at this house, we prefer 2 Tigers. We like Guatemala. I'm more of a medium. I like just right in the middle. I do like a occasional dark, but
gotcha. Yeah,
I like the middle. That's better for me.
Yeah, 2 Tigers is where it's at for me.
Yeah.
It's perfect, mild. I actually had it over a pour over Chemex the other day at is it called Lighthouse Coffee?
Yeah,
in Midlothian.
Yeah,
it's this Lighthouse Coffee in Midlothian. They just switched from who they were having as their house. Now they sell Moravian, but man, it was everything I thought it would be, like Chemex wise. Yeah, it was really good.
Mitch, please just tell the people that are listening that we didn't like pay you under the table to continue to keep talking about Moravian.
No, you really didn't. I really love coffee, and in fact, one of the things that I really look for is to buy, because I don't like to just buy 12-ounce bags. I like to buy 2 to 5 pound bags, and I see y'all have a 5 pound bag option here. No, you didn't, and I'm definitely going to check this out because so we do. I did for a while trade coffee company, just doing the subscriptions.
Yeah.
And anyway, so when we had William, my wife came out of work and we're down to one income, so I can't be spending that kind of money on getting crap coffees every week.
Right.
So anyway, so she just bought that again for my birthday, just to have a month long. Just I got 4 different coffees a month, and so now I need to buy the large bags. So, anyways, I'm gonna try this out. I really am.
I'm so glad.
This is great.
That's great.
Absolutely.
Well, we're so glad that it's. I have a feeling it's going to be one of your favorite coffees that you've had. So let's get into. We're going to have a timer go on now for 60 seconds. Mitch, let me ask you: are you ready for this rapid fire favorite questions coming at you?
I am ready. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Here we go.
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
All right, favorite candle scent.
Oh, anything that smells like Christmas.
Okay, good. Favorite thing to do when you're sick.
Oh, just binge TV, Netflix.
Great. Favorite person you've never met.
Oh goodness, Chris Pratt.
Favorite hobby.
Playing Madden.
Favorite way to relax.
Playing Madden.
That's great. Favorite piece of clothing.
Like just a particular.
Like shirt, pants. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a pair of jeans I really like. Pretty comfy.
Nice. Favorite age.
Oh man, I'm 34. Honestly, this year it's been great.
Favorite video game.
Oh man.
Oh, favorite.
I've been playing since '94.
Oh, favorite sports team.
Dallas Cowboys.
Already knew it. There we go.
There we go.
All right. Nice. You did great. That was epic. That's the first time we did 60 seconds. The last time we did 30 seconds. I think 60 seconds was way better.
Yeah, absolutely.
We did that, and we used a new epic timer, so that the music, it really built it up. So nice job. That was really good.
Thanks, man.
So a lot of people identify things that your favorite things is maybe your passions, and but I don't want to boil it down to that being so simple, because I think passion is way more important than just little favorite things, because some people can make some of your favorite things a big part of your personality. But I think when we talk about people's passions, and what your heart desires, and what like we've been talking about, that you went through working at the restaurant, and like you're like, oh, I'm never gonna do that again. But then you found ministry, and that's kind of like what your life's been about more. But can you kind of break that down again? Is tell us what is like some of your passions and why those are your passions.
Yeah, man, I think when it comes down to my passions, it's, I don't know, as I just look at my story, because even after I got out of the restaurant business, I thought, man, well, why restaurant business to ministry? What is like this big connection? And I realized that one of the things that I was really good at in the restaurant business was systems and processes and hospitality. And that is everything that I did in the restaurant business is what I've done in ministry. I've created organization, systems, and processes in hospitality towards churches. And that's it's kind of weird. You would think there's no relation between restaurant business and that, but it really, really is, you need to run an efficient restaurant that is hospitable to those you serve. And even as a ministry, that I try to run, an efficient ministry that is hospitable to those that it serves. And so I've realized that whatever I do, those are the things that I'm really good at. And I do that in whatever avenue that, that I'm in. And so, which has actually really freed me to say, hey, I can do whatever, I can do anything. You can give me whatever job in the world. Those are the things that I'm going to operate well in, and I can do so to the glory of God. And, and it's just as quote unquote sacred as being in a church or a formal ministry is for me to do that in the marketplace somewhere too as well. Which I don't actually rule out the Lord doing that again. Like I don't know that formal ministry, when I say formal ministry, I mean like I work for a place that's a quote unquote ministry or a church, but I really don't rule out the Lord putting me back into a marketplace setting, in a business setting, just because I'm actually kind of wired that way. And really when it comes, one of my passions has really been me becoming a self-aware person and understanding my personal wiring, because that's really helped me understand who I am and why I do the things that I do. And the Lord has really used that to help shape me and form me, and to me understanding really who God made me to be. And in fact, in Ephesians 2:10, it says we are his workmanship. It's the word poema, where we get our word poem. It's this, God is creating, we are his workmanship, this thing that he has created. And he's created each of us uniquely. And one of the passions that I love is helping liberate people to understand who God has made them to be. Because so often we make ourselves in the image of those that we look up to. And the reality is God has created each of us uniquely, individually, to obviously serve corporately, but he's made us each uniquely. And so it has been so fun to me to help people understand themselves, to see how they play a part in this world for the good of humanity. Like that has been such a joy to me. And that's what I hope that I get to spend. So and that's what I even try to do, here at the convention, is we have a ministry, to students in collegiate ministries in Texas. But one of the things I love to do is take our staff and help liberate them to understand who they are and how God has made them. And in fact, Kylie, who is my former assistant, who was in 72, she was one of the things that this whole, I firmly believe this, that I don't try to go searching for disciples. I view that the people that the Lord wants me to disciple and to invest in are the people that he puts in closest proximity to me.
That's good.
And so for Kylie was with me for almost 2 years. And so I just invested a lot into her, and, she was at our home with me and my wife a lot. And, really over the last 2 years, really tried to help her understand who she is and her passion. And the downside of that, well, the great side is I love working with Kylie. The downside is she figured out who she was and her passions, and she left this job. Because she's like, I'm not made to do this. And but for me, that's a win, because I'm like, she's liberated to go do what God's asking her to do. And so I'm like, man, praise him for that. I'm all about that. And now I have a new assistant, guy named Wesley, and man, we just do it again. In fact, we're having a meeting tomorrow where we're talking about his wiring and my wiring, how we communicate and all that. So, sorry, this is a really long version of what you asked.
That's great.
Yeah, that's really one of my passions, helping liberate people to be who God has designed them to be. Because I've always found and the reason why I'm so passionate about this is for so long I was such a people pleaser, and I still am a people pleaser. And I've always tried to transform myself into the image of those I wanted to impress. And I had to get to a point where I said, I'm tired of impressing people. I want to impress God and be who He's made me to be. And that's just kind of like a conviction of mine now. And so I just want people to do that too, because I don't want people to waste their lives trying to be somebody they're not. Like, hey, let's get down to the gist of this is who you are. Now be liberated to be who God has made you to be. And that's where you're going to find fruitfulness and stuff. And so, anyways, and me and my wife are actually walking through that right now, even with her, because she was worked in higher education. She was working at the University of North Texas. She got her master's from there. She was working there. She'd been there like 7 years. Well, then she just came out of the house to take care of our son. I don't know if she'll do that forever. I think there's probably a career opportunity out there for her that she wants. But right now, that's what we're kind of walking through, me and her, is like helping her identify, like, really what does this new phase of life look like, and how does she express who she is made to be, in this new environment, because I want her to be liberated as well, to be who God's made her be. And part of that is being a mom, but, also I think there's a lot more for Olivia that she has to offer than just being a mom to this world.
Yeah. That's great, Mitch.
Man.
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. That so inspired me because, I've never met you before, but hearing you talk about that, I'm really passionate about that too. People knowing who they are. I went through a season for a while that I was kind of not sure about where, who I am and what I'm all about. But I kind of, it is still a lifelong journey when, you figure out here and there, you think you got it figured out. And then, I think it changes. Maybe, the Lord does take us through seasons here and there. But, yeah, man, that's a beautiful passion to have, because it's a selfless passion that you're wanting to try to help other people figure out their wiring. And I really like how you say that, their wiring, about how we're built, very mechanical, because it really is like that. And thank you so much for going so deep into that, because it really inspired me, and I hope people who are listening, it will inspire them as well.
Yeah, man.
Did we just become best friends? I think that's what happened. Because you did a few things. You said knowing who we are and being self-aware. So that is a trigger word for Connor. He is always talking about being self-aware. To the point of, I'm like, dude, you're just talking.
I'm almost too self-aware.
Yeah, he's almost too self-aware. If you can be. And then the other part is Ephesians 2:10. For me, that has been a critical verse. It's been something for me personally in my life, but also, for my personal walk. But for, it's a sermon that I have it's that go-to sermon for me. Like, if I were to be asked to preach or teach at a youth event, I have this whole little fun little way of describing it of a penny is a penny. It's not a breath mint. And then I freak the kids out when I put it in my mouth and I treat it like a breath mint. Fun stuff like that. But the reality is, a penny is made to be a penny. You are made to be a masterpiece. And so treat yourself like that. Think about yourself like that. And live out your life knowing that you were created for more than often what we put our self-worth in. And so I think just such a huge part of that is the way we are raised and how we see ourselves, through the Father's eyes, and through just how our Father, for us, I don't know how much, we kind of told you a little bit about what our podcast does, but it's the Milkman Made Me podcast, and we often talk about, our Father and the things He taught us, and the values that He put in our life. And maybe we don't explicitly talk about it, but it just happens to be a part of what we talk about because He raised us, to think and do different things. And sometimes those can be very irritating. So, one of the things, when your dad does something crazy, and I don't know, for you, maybe you have one of these things, growing up, you find yourself now doing one of those things that your dad did, and you're like, man, I'm becoming my dad. So for me, I don't know, while you're thinking of yours, for me, it's when we're at a restaurant or we're leaving somewhere. My dad used to say, or actually he still does.
Still says it. He
says, well, what does he say exactly?
Y'all come back and see us.
Y'all come back and see us.
Y'all come back now.
Y'all come back and see us.
Yeah.
As we leave. And that's one of the most irritating things. That, and there's a certain laugh that he does that I'll find myself laughing, that same laugh. And I'm like, man, that is irritating. But also kind of like, you know what? I guess it's not that bad because he's a good guy. So, is there anything like that you find yourself, and especially now, you've been a dad for, how long have you officially been a father?
So just hit 6 months.
6 months.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So,
there's several things that, so my dad always walks around with keys on his belt loop.
Mm-hmm.
And we're actually, me and my sister are actually in the process of starting a business right now. So we're actually taking so we still have the building and the restaurant that we had before that we shut down in 2015. We're actually converting it into a commissary kitchen, which is basically it's a co-working space for foodies, so caterers, bakers, food trucks, and things like that. So that they can. It's kind of like this middle ground between, hey, I'm starting a business and brick and mortar. So it's like they need a commercial kitchen to have basically so the health inspector to kind of okay them to serve to the public. And so we're in the middle of getting that place renovated. So we've been doing a lot of work on it. And so we have, of course, there's a lot of doors and things in that building. Mm-hmm. And so I have a key ring for it. And I found myself, I bought a clip and I put it on my belt loop and I'm walking around with this on, and I realized in that moment I am my dad right now.
Yep. That's what happens.
Oh yeah, it does, man.
But I think that's a good thing though. I think it says something about the way that you see your dad to say either it's just a natural thing that comes from, just being raised, but I don't know if they weren't. I don't know. I think that it says a lot about how we see our father when we take on those things that they do. For me, I think, not for me, for you, what's one thing that you would say that you're making sure you take along in your as you're a dad now that you're wanting to pass along that you were taught by your father? Yeah, man.
My dad was just grew up with 7 siblings, kind of moved around a lot. Kind of, I would say abusive childhood. So he grew up, kind of scarred, emotionally scarred. He also didn't have a lot. So my dad's been very frugal, and we've always been very modest with the way we spend our money and things like that. And so my dad has really ingrained that into me, and to really help me try to keep up with the Joneses kind of mentality. Mm-hmm. It's still, I think it's still, something that I'll think about, you see someone with a nice vehicle or a nice house or something, you kind of want that. But my dad has always really grounded us in be grateful for what you have. If you can buy something, great, do it, but don't try to spend money you don't have, kind of thing. So I've been very fortunate for that. Another thing too is that my dad is, in our early in our childhood, our house was really a wreck in that my dad was battled substance abuse, and it just was not a really good environment to be in. And when I was probably early middle school, my dad came to faith in Christ and really turned his life around. And it was kind of a slow turn. But one of the things that I have just loved about my dad is he has chosen not to live in the past. He says, hey, I messed up. I get it. I'm not living there, and we're moving forward. And so I have been so grateful that he has just said, hey, we're moving forward. I know I messed up. My dad said his apologies. And so anyways, it was just, I always think about, when we mess up, sometimes we just tend to find our identity and our worth, our value, and just kind of live in the past on those things, and just to watch him just move forward. I think that has been really really cool, just to say, hey, because here's the thing is, with William, my son, there's things I'm going to do that are going to wreck him, right, that are going to scar him. And I dread those days, but also when it happens, I know that, man, there's nothing I can do to change it. I just got to be the best dad I can be to go forward. And so I think that's another thing I'll take away from my dad as well.
Yeah. And I think one of the most important things that I ever heard from a parent, I'm not a parent. Hopefully someday I will be, but just learning, that doesn't take away from the opportunity to be able to learn from parents. Lessons that they learned, from friends of mine. They're telling me that their mom or dad, one of the most powerful moments they ever had was when they walked in and they asked for forgiveness from their kid, even when their kid was like maybe third or fourth grade or even younger, asking forgiveness when they were, even younger, saying, will you forgive mommy, or will you forgive daddy for yelling at you earlier? And I think of how powerful that is, giving your children that opportunity to forgive and show forgiveness. Because I think that's just such an important part of, like, as we grow up, to be able to receive and give forgiveness. And so that's probably one of the most, that's one of the things I was going to ask about was, were y'all raised in the church? And you said your dad came to know the Lord when you were in middle school. And then you talk about you later in life, in your mid-20s, come to know the Lord for yourself and kind of have a reshaping. How did your relationship with your earthly father and that kind of like, okay, he's turned his life around, not living in the past, affect the way that even maybe before and then early on in your faith affect the way you saw Father God? Yeah,
man, no, that's huge. I grew up, our house was loud, a lot of yelling, fighting, a lot of anger. And that was, my understanding of malehood and manhood and what being a dad was. And so when I came into my faith in Christ, I viewed the Heavenly Father through the lens of my earthly father. Right. And there was a lot of walking around on eggshells. And as I, talked about that people pleasing earlier, as I walked around on eggshells, feeling like I had to do A, B, and C in order to please the Father, because that's what my dad was like. And if you don't do that, then, the hammer's going to get dropped, kind of thing. Yeah. And that was a big, and that was a big moment for me, because once I finally had a guy come into my life, begin to disciple me, and really, so what's so funny is this guy began to disciple me because I was like, I had a heart to disciple young men, that I felt like there was some emotional hurdles that I had to get over to become the man I wanted to be. And I found this guy that was discipling young men, had a great track record. So I actually just cold called the guy. I was like, hey, I want you, would you invest in me? I want to give you, I'll meet you anywhere, anytime. And so he graciously did. And the guy changed my life. And I remember meeting with him and I was talking to him about a work situation, and he like looks, and he we're like 2 days, we're like second meeting in, and he goes, hey, we're going to talk about, because I was having issues with my boss at that point. I was having a hard time with him just because he was critical, which my dad was very critical of me. So I didn't deal well with criticism. And he says, hey, we're going to talk about, hey, I'm going to get you this book. And he said, we're going to go through, we're going to start diving into the forgiveness of God. And I said, well, why are we going to dive into I was talking about how my boss is critical, and you're talking about forgiveness of God. He goes, because you hate your dad. And I was like, why, what does that have to do with the forgiveness of God? And he goes, Mitch, he goes, if you knew how much God had forgiven you, then you could forgive your dad, and you obviously haven't. And I was like, that was just a big, just a God moment of like, wow, how did you pull that out of there? But he was so right. And so I went on this journey, which was one of the hardest years of my life, because it was such a deep idol in my heart, was how much I really hated my dad at that point in time in my life. And so I would say that I would say that I really didn't start truly loving my dad till probably maybe probably 8 years ago, and then even liking him. And me and my dad have a wonderful relationship now, and mutual respect. And I love, I really love my dad a lot. Awesome. And so it's been really good.
That's awesome.
Good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you've got what city did where'd you grow up?
Born and raised in Fort Worth.
Okay, in Fort Worth. Great. So, through all of that, your dad was a Cowboys fan. Yeah? Or how did you become a Cowboys fan?
Yeah. So, I was born in 86. So when I'm, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, Cowboys are winning Super Bowls. So,
okay. So your dad, so is that kind of a born and raised thing? Like, or is that because y'all were here? I'm wondering how, because that's sort of the same sort of thing. Like, game day dip. Was being stirred up in the early '90s. Our dad was mixing that up, watching the Cowboys play every Sunday, and so it was just kind of birthed into us, to be Cowboy fans, and that was like the only choice we had. I just say that to say, through all the ups and downs of life, Cowboy fandom. That's been there the whole time, right?
Yeah, it has. So I would say that my dad was like probably a pretty, just like a casual football fan, like, hey, it's Sunday, let's watch it. Nice. And then, but I guess for some reason when I was just young, I just really just took to it. So of course, so now my dad, I think it was one of those things that because I was into it, my dad was into it as well.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
So they were winning, all that kind of stuff, and then they stopped winning. What got you through all these years that you decided that you're a Cowboy fan? Like, what's been the thing that's just like held you on? The hope, the Jerry Jones magic speech. What is it?
That dude's got some magic, man. He does.
Dude, he can sell anything to anybody.
He can. Even I was thinking with the whole Earl Thomas stuff going on right now. I think Ian Rappaport reported that, Cowboys aren't interested, and Jerry on 105.3 is like, that dude doesn't know what he's talking about. Tell him to shut up. Well, right. Here's the thing: is the Cowboys may not be interested, but Jerry's not going to let anybody know that because he wants to keep the spotlight on the Cowboys. He's just like this media PR genius. But anyways, I think what got me through those times, I don't know why, I have just always. Of course, there was so much. With the 3 Super Bowls in the 90s, right. There was so much built up that you were just hopeful each year. So I think that had part of it. But again, I was also like, I just loved, more so than just, I just love like studying the players. I love knowing the coaches. I love, just knowing the schemes and how we're like, what kind of football that we're playing or we're kind of running. And so that's always been really kind of fun to me. And I wouldn't say I finished all those games, but those were some tough years of Jerry humbling himself, realizing that he is a better owner than he is a GM and some of the settings. Yeah. But I guess that's probably just the star, man. Dude, there's something about the Dallas Cowboys, just seeing the uniforms and the star that's like so just nostalgic, and I love it.
Yeah, you're telling me, man. I am Dallas Cowboys fan through and through, born and raised. I tell people, I'm a Cowboys fan first. I say I probably got to be. I think I just like the classic feeling of baseball. So maybe Rangers than Mavs, or Mavs or Rangers, can go either way. And then I grew up Dallas, so I'm a Dallas Stars fan. So, the sports world is just crazy right now. My question for you. So, the Mavs, Luka Doncic, I saw you posted, you said, can we just sign this dude to a 15-year, however many $1 billion deal?
$1 billion deal, yeah.
Yeah, whatever it is, but then he goes and poops the bed the next game, so I don't know how you feel about that now. It's just a weird time to be a sports fan, and to whether you should feel guilty or not because you want to watch these games, and then the players don't want to play, and you like understand where they're coming from. So right now, I heard someone last night talk about it on SportsCenter. They said if we were to have football games going, like if the new season was supposed to start this coming Sunday, or if we had preseason games, there would be a real jeopardy, like of those games actually being played, because it's so close to, like, with the NBA postponing and potentially canceling and different things. So as of right now, because I remember you said, it put it in perspective for me that the Hall of Fame game of when it was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Do you think we're playing NFL football in a few weeks when the season's supposed to get started?
Oh, absolutely, man. It's too big. So? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think they'll play. I mean, they'll probably do some. I feel like they'll probably do some kind of. Because I even just saw that the NBA is going to finish the playoffs, so I don't see anything happening. So
I hope so.
At least Jerry will figure out some kind of way.
Oh yeah, he's talking about one side of the stadium is as far away as from Dallas to Fort Worth. He's like, our stadium's that big. So I don't know. Yeah. Hey, before we let you go, we're going to cut to one more commercial little break and then come back, and we got a final 3 questions for you and an opportunity to plug yourself. All right?
Sweet, man.
Hey, what's going on? This is Spencer Gunnels. That's right, from the podcast you're listening to right now, the Milkman Made Me podcast. And if this is your first time you're joining us, we welcome you and thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you.
If this is your 23rd time joining us, we are so thankful for the continued support.
Thank you.
We ask that you please take the time to go and subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcast, and go ahead and leave us a review while you're at it.
Yeah, please tell us what you like, what you don't like. We just want to know.
Hey, and we want to make sure you know that your friends know that everyone knows that we are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio,
Yell it from
Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Deezer, TuneIn, Alexa, and Listen Notes.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of wonderful places. And, did I mention YouTube?
Wow.
That's right. You can listen to us in all the places now, so there's no reason you should not enjoy the Milkman Made Me podcast. Wow.
There we go.
Can you believe that? All those places you can listen to us? That's just so crazy. Yeah, so you have a podcast, right? Well, I'll ask you that in a minute. That's not one of the final questions. We'll get to that.
Yes,
my gosh. So let's see here. Final questions. You had the final question.
Go. I have
Connor
the first.
He is the first of our final 3 questions.
First of the final questions.
And these final 3 questions will be asked to each and every single one of our guests that come onto the Milkman Made Me podcast. And Connor, go ahead.
All right. So the first question is a would you rather. Most of them are they will be different every time for different guests. So literally, I just pulled this off the top of my head. It's probably been asked before,
so
but
much fun.
Let me just throw this out. Would you rather, Mitch, fight 10 duck-sized Tyrannosaurus Rexials, or 1 T-Rex-sized duck?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
There's so many questions I have just to surround it. I think, dude, I think it's got to be just the one. If I could focus my time and attention on one instead of 10 little ones, I think I'd go with the big guy.
Well, there you go. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Why would you? Because it's just one.
Yeah, it's just one. If I can concentrate, my energy and my, just the strategy on one thing, then I think that's better than multiple.
That's true.
I tend to get tunnel vision, and so what I could picture myself doing if there was 10 of them, I'd get locked in on fighting one. And, the other 9 would just take me over.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that.
So,
Good answer.
It's good strategy.
Because I feel like I could do some guerrilla warfare with the other one, just
set up little booby traps and all that. Yeah.
That's important.
That's good.
Man, that's a good thought process. I like it. If you could have dinner with one person that has passed on from this life, who would it be and why?
Oh, man. That's a good question. They could pass on from this life. So my grandfather, my mom's dad passed away when I was about 8 months old, but from everyone, I look just like him. We're like the same size. Like even his old suits fit me. Like I've been told, like I am like the spitting image of this, of my grandfather, and I just never really got to experience him. So I would probably say him.
Wow,
nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
Final question of your final 3 questions on the Milkman Made Me podcast. If you could go back and share one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be and why?
If I could go back and share, I'm trying to think of the way I would phrase this. Is I would say just be you. I think that's my biggest deal. I just struggled so early on with people pleasing, and it's still a struggle of mine.
That's good.
And I just wish that I would have been more of me and not chased what other people wanted from me, but just being who God made me to be. I think that's what I would say.
That's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
I believe every young person really needs to hear that more and more. Mm-hmm. Just like, that's important.
Totally.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Okay, before we hang up on you, no. What are the ways that people, if you want people to keep up with you, you got a podcast, you got, social media, keep up with what you're doing, and how maybe they could even, get involved if they're in the collegiate age group that you're in charge of now. How would they do that?
Yeah, so I have a personal website, mitchtidwell.com.
No, you don't. Do you really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Man,
so professional.
I need to get a...
Well, I wanted a place that I could write. So I don't write. I usually write once a quarter, and so I just need a home base for that. And it's also like it's also a place if someone, wants me to speak or something like that.
Gotcha.
I can go through it and use that. But so mitchtidwell.com, check that out. I'm actually getting that website redone right now, so I'm pretty stoked about that. I have been doing it myself, but I found a guy that will do some solid work, so I'm pretty pumped about that. Sweet. And I'm actually even right now, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I would love to actually start a podcast for my website. But I'm not quite sure exactly what kind of the vision for it is just yet. Like I have a couple of ideas, but I'm trying to focus it in before I launch anything. So when that's up, that'll be there. So social media is just at Mitch Tidwell. And then for our SBTC Collegiate and student stuff, you can find us at SBTC Collegiate. We also have one of the coolest things that we have going on right now is what we call a Roundup Network, which is collegiate leaders from around the state of Texas coming together. I remember Spencer, as you were talking early on, that sometimes as a minister, in a church, you feel isolated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the real passions that I have is to help ministry leaders not feel isolated and bring them into community, because I think that's where ministry moves through relationships. And so I think that's a time to find community, realize you're not alone. And so we have a Facebook group called Roundup Network that people can jump into, and just a really good time to idea share, collaborate, do all those kind of things. So
good.
Awesome.
Yeah. And we have our podcast, Roundup Podcast. In fact, we just launched, published what's the right word I'm looking for here? An episode yesterday with Whitney Brown, who is in 72, where she talks about the Enneagram, and it is so good because part of it is she talks about how the Enneagram is connected to being self-aware and how it's not a tool for transformation, but self-awareness. And she just does a really fantastic job in that. So,
well, that's good to hear, because we've already talked to her, and she's on the list of guests potentially this season, maybe next season, but for that exact same reason. So yeah, I'm just astonished and kind of blown away every time I talk to her about that stuff, how much she knows. She's a
Enneagram master.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. So yeah, that's awesome to know.
She was so good. It was probably one of our funnest episodes that we've done, and she was just very informative, engaging. She was great. I'm going to have her back at some point. I just got to figure out when.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's great. Well, Mitch, we appreciate you so much for coming on, spending some time with us, talking about your life and sharing with our listeners, and just being so encouraging.
Thank you.
And where you are in life is just exciting. I mean, you said 34 is your best year yet, and so I don't think you would just say that, but it sounds like you got a lot of great things going for you too. MitchTidwell.com. Make sure y'all check that out. And Mitch, any final words? Any last little thing that you would say?
Spencer, Connor, thank you guys. This has been a ton of fun, man, to talk about passions and Dallas Cowboys, and it was really good. You guys asked great questions, and I would love to, come back and chat some more with you guys.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Fun. Well, we appreciate you, and we look forward to talking to you again somewhere down the road. And, continue to keep up with you via social media and different things as the world opens back up. Obviously, maybe grab a cup of coffee or something like that along the way, too. Would be awesome. So, maybe
y'all come out to Redefine. We can run into Kenyon and creep them out.
There you go.
We'll be done.
Sounds good, Mitch. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
Bye. See ya, man.
Man, let's go ahead and call Chandler so we can get these 2 minutes in. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Wow. We're
going to have to start Patreon. So you'll get like inside information when we interview people.
It's
just the big
kind of speechless about how well that went, and just like the awesome, good little life nuggets.
We will come back and recap it in just a second, but Chandler's already, the first thing he's going to tell me when he comes on here.
Is he plugged in?
Yeah, he's plugged in.
Oh, there he is.
The first thing he's going to say when he answers is, wow, 12:30.
Chandler?
What?
Were you putting on your earpods?
His earpods or his makeup?
I thought I heard
it sounded
something.
like you're closing like a makeup thing.
Yeah. Or he's playing like conchas.
Nah, it was a water bottle.
Chandler, are you eating Bugles?
No. I was eating a granola bar.
Oh, was that a TV show or a commercial where the dude wants to sue Bugles because the Bugles aren't big enough to fit on his fingers?
It was a commercial.
Yeah. That was a commercial?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He got so upset because on the bag it shows they're supposed to fit on your fingers. And then they don't.
That's good. I like that.
What? You don't think that's good?
I don't know.
Okay. Were his hands from Italy?
I don't know what that means.
Why?
Vienna.
Sausages?
Yeah.
What?
Vienna sausages.
They were too big.
They were too big. You're too big. Anytime someone says they're too big, I always think of the kid in Thailand.
Eat vegetable.
You're too big. And he called me too big.
That's what we needed.
We're finding out the truth.
As an extra cherry on the top for this episode was Chandler's cackle laugh just there. That's
it.
We needed that.
That was the cherry on top.
We needed that.
Chandler,
well,
you know how we do it?
No.
At the end of every episode, we actually had a really good talk with Mitch, and it was a bummer you couldn't be on. But Chandler, I wanted to make sure what we figured out, what we thought about earlier, is that you're actually going to tell people something you're going to do this weekend. And this episode won't actually air for another 2 weeks, but that's okay. I still think people should know what you're doing, and then you'll get to follow up with this after it's over, and people get to hear about it. And so, but yeah, it's 2 minutes to talk here at the end of the episode. You know how we do it. You got 2 minutes to talk, and when the music comes back on, you know your time is up.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So you want me to talk about what I'm doing?
Yeah, you got 2 minutes to talk about whatever you want, but also kind of want you to talk about what you're doing too.
Okay. So there is a thing happening in our world right now. Crazy thing. This is something that's beautiful. It's something that us as Christians, we can hasten to happen. Jesus is coming back to rule and reign. I want to talk about that. And I want to talk about how we have a particular sphere of influence and authority, whether it be in media like you guys are doing, whether it be behind a pulpit, different things, maybe in the marketplace, stuff like that. something that's really cool is something that I know that I'm walking into is just the ability to like speak to our generation. And that means from a platform. That's great. I mean, this podcast is a platform, so I am speaking to our generation through it right now. But I just want to state that truly Jesus is coming back. He's coming to reign, and it's going to be powerful. On that note, I get the opportunity to share about him this coming weekend. I'm going to be going to Foley, Alabama. It's a small little city there. I think 18,000 people. So there's a ministry called Inner Cry. They just have a heart and a passion to see people come alive in Jesus. And so I'm going to speak at their Sunday night service, and then I'm going to spend, I think, Monday through Thursday, really Wednesday. Thursday I fly back at like 3. But yeah, I'm just going to be sitting with some of their leadership, sharing some stuff about what's happening in Dallas. Also, too, just maybe prophesying, praying for their leaders, maybe even some city officials, some stuff like that. But it's just really cool. It's a unique opportunity. I'm thankful that the Lord's giving it to me. I'm honored and humbled by that, because he can truly use anybody. But if you're willing to submit your life to his leadership and his authority and his direction, things that he says happen will happen. So I'm excited that this is happening, and that's my 2 minutes. So pray for me, and I'll see you next time with an update.
That's awesome, man. We appreciate you taking the time to hop on, even just for a few minutes, to share that with people and let them know what you're going to be doing, because we definitely want to be praying for you as you go out and do that. Do you want to stay on and hear our 2 minutes, or you want to hang up?
I thought you already went, but no, I'll listen to your 2 minutes.
You want to listen to us?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. I'm going to mute you.
I'll get a haircut till 3, so might as well.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Connor, here's your 2 minutes, sir.
Oh, man. Here we go. Let me break down these 2 minutes. No, I'm not going to rap. But let's... Man. There's so many really important things, just like Chandler was saying. There's a lot of going on in the world right now. There are really serious things I could probably talk about, but I don't feel like I should be that person to, even though this is a great platform, but maybe I'm not the right voice to put that out right now. So for lighter note, let's spend the rest of this time for my 2 minutes to talk about Batman. I'll probably do another 2 minutes later on to talk about more Batman, but let's talk about the new trailer. If you've not seen it, you need to go watch it. I'm a huge fan of Batman, always will be, and I'm excited for Robert Pattinson, what he's gonna do. And I mean, the trailer looks legit. It's a whole new world. I think it's gonna do really well, and so all the power to Pattinson, as they've called him now, and there's awesome actors in it. Let me rant one. I got 30 more seconds. Looper on Snapchat, I'm calling you out. You didn't do your research that in the trailer it shows a quick clip of Colin Farrell as Penguin, and you guys didn't know who it was. I'm just asking, Looper, please do your research. If you ever hear this, probably never will, but just look on IMDb. It was right there, and you guys didn't know. It was very interesting to me, but that's my 2 minutes. Did a little ranting, did a little this and that.
Solid.
Thank you.
Appreciate your 2 minutes. All right, coming at you now. Myself, Spencer Gunnels on the mic. Ya dig? I used to honestly say that. SG on the mic. Ya dig? And it was a lot of fun. What I want to talk about is passion, chasing your dreams, and the importance of fulfilling what you're called to do. A couple weeks ago, not even a couple weeks ago, last week, what do you call it? A guy by the name of Love Nindo, or Street Hymns, or Mitchell West, however you know him, gone onto his Instagram and said, listen, if you are passionate about something and you're not doing anything about it, then what are you doing? You lazy bum. No, he didn't say it like that. But he said, look, if you've got a passion to be creative, then go be creative. Go buy that camera. Why haven't you bought that camera? I'm sitting there like thinking, bro, you've been reading my mail? I've been thinking about buying a camera for a week or two, and so I finally went and bought that camera. It's a really dope camera. I've gotten a lot of good feedback from other videographers and photographers that I've talked to, saying it's a really good camera for film, for video, and for pictures as well. But the lens I got is solid, and so I'm really excited. I've already taken it out, taken some pictures, taken some video. The next step is upgrading the ability to be able to edit that stuff together well. And so I'm looking forward to that, looking forward to continue to build on the creativity that this podcast has continued to call me to. This podcast, season 1.5 was a lot of fun, but season 2 has just got a lot more fun packed into it. I'm looking forward to continuing on being creative outside of it, whether that's video, pictures, music, partnering with artists, whatever that looks like. I'm excited about it and can't wait to share more of what the Lord's going to do through that and how much fun that's going to be. So yeah, cheers to being creative. So
nice.
That's my 2 minutes. You know, as we do every week before we get out of here, we got to thank the people. Thank the people that made this happen.
Thank you.
There are a lot of people that made this happen. We'd like to thank all our sponsors.
Thank you.
For all the ways.
Thank you.
And all the things.
Thank you.
Gracias.
There you go.
There you go.
Throw it in there.
And to our friends and family, this is your fault because you encouraged us to chase our dreams.
Yeah, if you guys just hold off on that, just don't do that again, please, until tomorrow.
The milkman made me. The milkman made me. The milkman made me.
Oh, man. Well, that's it.
Yeah.
That was a great episode.
Chandler, didn't you love the whole episode?
It wasn't
I guess what was Mitch's? It was a good conversation.
Dude, it was a great conversation. You're gonna have to wait.
What y'all talk about? Give me one thing.
Okay. Wow, Chin, you already know how. Did you look at the flow chart? One thing, Connor, that you took away from what Mitch said.
Man, I think me and Mitch, we've never met, but we got to be kindred spirits or something.
Right?
I knew you were gonna say kindred spirit.
Yeah.
Well, Chandler, he said.
I was like, you about to say kindred spirit.
Well, he's gonna say that when he says, Mitch said, yeah, you gotta be self-aware.
Yeah.
Oh, dang. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that was a big part for me. I think we really connected on that, and I hope that the people who listen to this episode really will get inspired by that, because that's like we said in the episode, that's a big passion for me, and it is for Mitch, and I think a lot of the world's problems would be solved. It's not to really boil it down too much, but so many problems could be solved
if you were just self-aware.
With some freaking self-awareness.
Yeah.
And empathy.
It's true.
I'm just gonna say that.
I'll say the one thing from me that I took away was just his passion to help people see the best of themselves, and so it was a lot of fun for that. And also Connor, the world can be great.
Mm-hmm. The world can be great. Is that what you
better
said?
When people are more self-aware, but also what makes the world better?
Make the world better.
You know what makes the world better?
What?
When you order Moravian coffee.
Yeah, that's
which Mitch already texted me and said, enjoyed it, bro. Also, bought my first bag of 2 Tigers. He already texted me.
Yeah,
because
dude.
we played the commercial, and he was like, I'm actually looking up their website right now.
He's a big, I mean,
he's a big coffee
he was
drinker.
a huge coffee guy, but I mean,
he already bought a bag.
You know.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did he save 10% with our discount?
I hope so.
I mean, we told him. It was right after he listened to the commercial.
I did the whole commercial for him. I hope he heard it.
I'd be sad if he didn't.
Yeah.
I think he did, though. Anyway, Chandler, what did you learn?
Yeah, what did you learn?
Man, I learned that submission and humility will propel you into what you're supposed to accomplish. Is that on par?
Man, that's on.
It's okay.
That's on Birdie.
What?
Okay.
That means it's better.
I mean,
yeah, Birdie is way better than on par.
Bogey's off.
I don't know golf stuff.
Okay.
You played Mario Golf.
Well,
what Mitch talked about? You said Mitch is in ministry, right?
Yeah, he talked about a bunch of stuff, but I guess you're gonna have to wait and listen to this episode when it drops.
You gotta listen to it.
Did he talk about riding a bike?
No.
What about going on a run?
No.
Are you
Did
doing
he talk
that?
about?
Bring that up.
Oh no, I ain't been on a run since when was my senior year?
Oh boy, that's
man. Hey, that was great. I'll learn something later when I listen to it.
All right.
But right now, I'm about to take a nap. Then I'm gonna go get my hair cut.
Sounds good.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.